Guys, this is the ultimate leaf sucker. I got this giant vac leaf trailer here hooked onto the 20G. Now I haven't used the leaf sucker yet, so I got to get that fired up. I need to put a bungee cord on the hose up to that hook. And this mint looking deck boot here came with it from the previous owner, who gave me this giant vac and this 20G over the last 2 years. So I'm going to pull it down off the trailer and we're going to see if we can at least try to get the Briggs started on the giant vac, because who knows. All right, let's see what happens if I try to start here. I put some gas in it, give it some choke. So we're working on this 8-horse Briggs Intech here that's on the giant vac leaf trailer. We got to rebuild the carb or clean it out. So you got to take this bolt out over here on this whole plastic housing, and then that gets you to the carburetor. Air cleaner is pretty dirty. I got a new air cleaner. It's kind of a pain to work on these Intechs, but basically you got 2 bolts down here that hold the carb on. They're like through bolts. So we're going to unhook the gas line and unhook that and see if we can get the carb off. I noticed that the breather tube here is all broken too, so we'll probably have to buy a new tube for the breather after we get it running. So let's take this plate off and take the carb off and see what kind of mess we got in there. Alright, so we got the plate off the end of the carb here and the 2 nuts off. And this is a Nikki carb. And parts for these carbs are actually really expensive. I was investigating what a carb kit cost. It was like $40 something that gets these like studs out that hold the carb into the actual block here. So I just put a pair of vice grips on the end. It looks like a torque bit, but you need a female torque socket to go over that, which I don't have. So I just grabbed it with a pair of vice grips. It loosened right up. So I think that once I just unthread this, our whole carb is coming off now. So all right, let's see what we got. All right, we got the screws out from the bottom of the bowl here, and it is full of a bunch of junk, and the needle is pretty stuck, and you can see like this rusty ethanol-y junk in there. I actually bought a new gasket for it, but it doesn't appear to line up right with any of this stuff, so maybe we'll just get lucky and clean this out and put it back together. But it's all full of the typical ethanol goo in the bottom of the bowl there. So let's see what we can figure out. So it turns out that you pull this whole plastic piece off the carb, and there's this wacky like valve body in here, whatever you want to call it, but this is the right gasket that I got. It matches this. So I'm gonna blow this all out and clean it up. We'll throw a new gasket in there and we'll put it back together. And this carb is one of those carbs that has no adjustments on it. It's just a fixed jet carb. So I'm not really a big fan of those kind of carbs. So hopefully we can get this crazy thing to work right. Well, stay tuned. This brand new part here, the float bowl gasket, Briggs OEM 695426. I got it on Amazon. It was like $6 or something, but let's take this gasket out and we'll put it back in the carb. This gasket is sure an odd looking beast, but that's what it is. So we'll put that in there and see what we got. All right, so I got it back together. I wasn't really happy with how the float level looked. It really wasn't level enough for my liking, but there's no adjustment. It's all plastic, and there's nothing I can really do about it. So let's put this back together and see if we can fire this turd up. All right, so we're gonna put a new spark plug in it here. The original plug is probably a Champion. I bought an Autolite plug at Advanced Auto Parts the other day. That is a direct replacement for the Briggs part number. This one's pretty bad. Let's check it out. The original plug is a Champion RC12YC, and you can see it's pretty nasty and dirty and fouled up. I got this Autolite plug. It's a 3924. It was like $3 at Advanced Auto. They had it right in stock. So we're gonna put this one in, and we'll see what we can do. The gap looks good. I matched it up to the old plug. It's the same gap, so we should be ready to roll. I got a brand new Briggs air filter here, another Amazon purchase, 491588S. And let's just take a look at how nice this is. OEM Briggs, awesome. Now they say made in CN. I assume that's China and not Canada, but what a sneaky way to label it, huh? All right, so it's all back together. I got it on full choke, full throttle. Let's see what happens here. Probably nothing, but. Piece of junk. All right, so I pulled the carb apart again here. I'm using a guitar string, and it's hard to see what I'm doing here, but this is the bottom where the bottom of the bowl would be. And that's where it sucks the fuel up into what they call the emulsion tube. And this thing was clog solid. I was able to poke through it with this guitar string. Now I'm going to clean it out with some carb cleaner. So hopefully that was the problem with this carb, just gummed up with ethanol. And that, you know, when it's in the bowl assembled is like this. So it's at the bottom of the bowl. And I think that it was just sitting in that other gas and got all mixed up. All right, if you can see in the middle of that brass thing, there's actually a hole in there now. Cleaned it out really good, and I sprayed it with my gum out carb cleaner. And I'm pretty confident that that's why we weren't sucking up any fuel from the bowl. So let's put this thing back together and give it another try. And let's see if we can get this thing to run. All right, let's see if we can get this thing back together now. It shouldn't be a big deal. I've taken it apart about 10 times already. So we've got to put this hose clamp on. I just turned the gas line on, and I learned that you need a socket for these things. It's called an E4. It's like a female torque socket, which obviously I don't have that, so I'm using these vice grips, which I'm sure someone's cringing at right now, but that's how it's going to go down. If this works, I'll buy the studs. They're like $10. And this is our plate for the air cleaner. Oh, I'm missing the gasket. Let me get that. I'll be right back. My gasket's actually broken, so if this actually works, like I said, I'll buy some new parts. If this doesn't work, I'm buying a China carb. It costs like $10. We're gonna call it a day here. It's not $10, it's $15. I apologize. Let's see, we'll put this on.